Yeah, I'm MALNOX. I've been playing Genshin since September of 2020. I've been streaming it basically exclusively Genshin for just almost a year now. It was about March of last year that I switched over to basically just creating content centered around Genshin Impact. Um, I've been streaming off and on since 2017. I was on Twitch, and then I was on Mixer for a while. Took a little break, came back. Mixer went down, moved back to Twitch, and I've
Hmm.
been back there since then. Um, yeah, man, I'm just excited to be here. I create content on Twitch, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and all of it is just centered around Genshin Impact. So whether that's short form content, long form content, it's all Genshin content. At least for the past year or so.
Right, right. Well, I mean, it seems like you've had pretty good success with that. I mean, you're up over 6,000 followers on Twitch. Congratulations, by the way. That's huge. That's amazing, especially for for a one game streamer. That can be tough to do in such a crowded market. So it definitely speaks to the quality of your content. So congratulations on that.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so just first question right off the bat. So how did you first learn about Genshin? Like, what introduced you to the game? Was it a friend? Did you just kind of stumble across it? How did you first come to start playing the game?
Yeah, so I did. I kind of stumbled across it. I think I was scrolling through my Twitter feed one day, and I saw people tweeting about the game. I think it was. I think I saw King Gathalion tweeting about it, or people were like, "Oh, this game's coming out. It looks really cool," and that's really the first mention I had heard of it. Like maybe I'd seen, a little bit here or there, but probably like a month or so before it actually came out, or maybe a couple of weeks before it actually came out, is when I really started to see a lot of the hype around it. And so I went on YouTube and I ended up watching the release trailer, and I was like, oh, like this game looks awesome. Like it looks right up my alley. I love open world games. I love RPGs. I loved playing Breath of the Wild, and I was like, oh, this game looks a lot like Breath of the Wild. It's like cool. Like I'm definitely going to check this game out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it wasn't something where I wasn't like sitting and waiting for months and months about it, following everything. I just kind of saw it close to the release, and I was like, oh, this game looks sweet. How have I not heard about this before?
Right. So I mean, you've been there since the beginning, though, since launch. Were you pretty much playing it since day one then?
Yeah, I think I started playing it either day one or day two. I know that I downloaded it as soon as I could, as soon as it came out, and I can't remember if I played it that night or. Right. I know the download was really slow at first, so I can't remember if I abandoned it that night and then came back and figured out the download the next day. But it was either day one or day two that I've been playing it since.
Right. Okay, great. That's so the perspective of somebody who's been there since the beginning. You kind of already answered my next question, which was going to be what was your first impression, and it seems like it was a pretty positive impression that the game kind of left on you from from just hearing about it to actually playing it.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned it was, a lot like Breath of the Wild, which was a game you were a fan of, the open world, the art, or I don't think you touched on the art style, but we'll get there. So was there anything that gave you any kind of hesitation? Anything that you heard about the game that was maybe made you pause or anything?
I think the only thing that I was not 100% sure was the fact that it was a gacha style game, and I hadn't really played any games like that previously. The only one that I guess I had really played was the Nintendo mobile game Dragalia Lost, and I had played that pretty heavily actually. Before that, I used to play that every day, just kind of in my downtime on my phone at work, or if I'm just hanging out, I would play that, and that was really the only game of that style that I had played. So I wasn't really familiar with that aspect of the genre. But everything else, as far as the art style and the gameplay and everything looked really fun. I'm not a stranger to games with microtransactions. I feel like most games that you play nowadays have microtransactions in them, in one way or another. And so that wasn't really a worry of mine. I used to play games like Smite and things a lot where,
Uh,
I would spend money on gyms to buy skins in Smite, or, Valorant, and spending money on Valorant skins and things like that. I played World of Warcraft for, gosh, since it came out for
yeah.
years. And so I was paying $15 a month to play a game.
Right.
Anyway, on top of, microtransactions for transferring characters and faction changing characters and things like that. So that wasn't really a limiting factor in whether or not I wanted to play the game, because I figured, it's a free to play game. I'm interested to see how the microtransactions work in, if it's going to make you do, like, if it's going to be pay to win, or if it's going to be, like, I didn't really have any idea going into it of what the microtransactions were going to be like. But that really didn't cause any, I guess, trepidation. It was just like the actual gacha style, because I was like, I don't really know exactly how this works.
Right. You're not, just buying what you want. A lot of it's kind of like pulling and hoping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna I think I might already know the answer to this question, but let me word it a little differently than I originally planned. So you initially hear about the game and you say, "Oh, this is a lot like Breath of the Wild. This is open world. This is definitely my style of game." And then the microtransactions you're not really too worried about. I think many people were, but you kind of went into it with an open mind. Let's see how they implement them, and the gacha style might have given you a little bit of pause, but I don't think it was too much. So are you surprised that you've become so heavily invested in the game where it's now the base of your Twitch channel? I'm sure most, if not all, of your followers have kind of come from Genshin, and you've kind of built this platform, this successful platform around Genshin. Would you have ever expected that coming in, your first maybe month or two at the game? Or did you think it was going to be a game you were maybe play for a little while and move on?
Yeah, absolutely not. Actually, interestingly enough, when I first started playing the game, I played it very heavily for like 2 weeks, I think. Like, I played it until like AR25. I didn't even play till Klee's first banner though, and then I stopped playing the game altogether. I came back like every now and then, just like checked in or whatever, but it was mostly off stream. And I started streaming like Smite and Valorant and other things, and it actually wasn't until Hu Tao's first banner that I came back and just started exclusively streaming Genshin. And I don't really honestly even know 100%, how it happened or why it happened. It was a game where I was like, I'll probably like rotate this into my like games from time to time. It'll be like, in my rotation, because I was, kind of a variety streamer before this.
Absolutely.
And so, I played it initially, had a lot of fun. I had a lot of friends who were playing it, but then, kind of like, whenever there's like a really big game that's all hyped up, it's hyped up for a couple weeks and the hype starts to die down. And I was kind of like, hey, I'll move on to other things, or I'll play things that I was already playing. And then really, I think what brought me back was when I first had seen the game trailer, I saw Zhao, and Zhao was like the character I wanted the most. I was like, oh, he looks so cool. I wonder when he's coming out. And I was like following the news of like when Zhao was going to be out.
Right.
And so when I saw that he came out, I actually went and I polled like, I don't know, 45, 50 polls, and I didn't get him. I was like, it's okay. I'll come back later and I'll poll him. But I wasn't following the game that closely at the time, so I didn't know that his banner was only 2 weeks, because that was when there was Zhao and then Keqing and then Hu Tao all in one version with 2-week banners instead of 3-week banners. And it was like the only time that had happened. And so by the time I came back, his banner was over, and so I missed him. And I was like, oh, like, this is terrible. And then I came back, and the first stream I came back was on Hu Tao's banner. And I think really it was like the kind of adrenaline, or the serotonin rush I got from, like, I pulled on Hu Tao's banner, and I'd already had pretty high pity. Like, I hadn't had a 5-star yet. And then I got D-Luke and I got Hu Tao like back to back on that banner, and I was like, what? This is amazing. And then I just like kept playing from there, like chasing that serotonin again.
Right. And just really quickly, for anyone who might be watching who might not understand like the jargon and lingo of the game, could you just very quickly give a brief description of like what a banner is? Yeah,
for sure. So a banner essentially is every version of the game, every patch. There's typically two. I mean, recently it's been more, they're doing some things with rerunning characters and things, but typically there's a first half and a second half of the patch, and each of those halves lasts about 3 weeks. And the banner is just you wish on this banner, and it's a set of characters that you can spend your in-game currency, your primo gems, or your fates, which are the wishes that you can purchase with those primo gems. You spend your wishes trying to get a character from this set of characters.
Right.
And on the banner, there's typically one main character who's a 5-star character, which is the highest quality of character you can get. And then there's 3 4-star characters who are the lower quality characters. They're still very good, but they're not maybe as good as the 5 stars, or as rare, I should say, as the 5 stars. And they have an increased chance of dropping from that set. So if you're wishing on that banner, there's an increased chance that you're going to get those characters. And a lot of the times, the 5-star character that appears on that banner, you can't get them any other time in the game except for when their banner is active. So if you don't get them then, you have to wait until they come back around in the rotation.
Right. Excellent description, by the way. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten a little bit about your backstory and how you came to get into the game, and a little bit of your opinions and thoughts, and how those kind of formed. So I want to pivot a little bit to some of the thoughts and opinions of maybe some of people who haven't played the game, and because I'd say it's quite a controversial and divisive game due to, as you mentioned, the gacha aspect. Some people cite the very anime art style. Some people, kind of talk about it's a very waifu simulator type game. And
Sure.
most of these people haven't actually played the game. They're kind of going off first impressions or things like maybe they've heard from a friend and all that. So I would just ask, what would you say, you had a good friend who was of that mindset? What would you say to them if you were maybe trying to get them to give it a second look, or, give it a first look if they've never played it?
For sure. I mean, I would say that just like with anything, I feel like you really can't pass judgment on something until you experience it for yourself. So, if you haven't tried the game yet, just give it a try. It's definitely not for everyone. Some people don't like the anime art style. I personally grew up reading manga and watching anime, so I love that art style. So that was one of the things that really drew me in.
Right.
That's one of the things I really liked about it. And then the gacha aspect, I definitely see where people are coming from. We're like, I don't want to spend, money on this game, and I don't want to have to spend money to get, the characters I want, etc. But at the same time, it's a free game. You're not buying the game. You're not paying to play the game at all if you don't want to. And then you just have to kind of pick and choose, which characters you really want. And that's just the style of game that they went with. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But again, it's definitely not everyone's cup of tea. Some people want to be able to just do put in the work and get the reward of that character, and maybe not have to spend money on it, which I get. And I know some other people don't like the fact that some things are time gated as far as spending your resin, stuff like that, which allows you to claim rewards. And they say there's maybe not enough opportunities or not enough of the resin to be able to do that. And I definitely think a lot of those criticisms are really valid. And I agree that I think some of those things definitely should be changed. But I think that having people who have played the game and who enjoy the game and can give that kind of feedback and criticism of the game is important, versus the people who are on the outside, who are just this game's just they don't like it because maybe the art style, like you said, or they don't like it because it's a waifu simulator.
Right.
I think
right.
that those first impressions, I definitely see where people are coming from with those first impressions, but the game is so much deeper than that. And the story of the game, some parts are, really intense. It draws out a lot of emotion. I really enjoy a lot of the story for it. A lot of the story quests, I think, have been getting, better and better as time goes on and as the game's been getting bigger. So yeah, I mean, I would tell them like just there's definitely problems. I don't think any game is perfect, and I'm not trying to say that Genshin is perfect by any means. But give it a shot. Play it. Get past the introductory tutorial part of it, and I feel like it turns into something that's could be really really draws you in. I mean, the characters, the stories behind the characters, I feel like really draw you in. So
yeah,
I would
absolutely.
say, yeah, at the end of the day, you just got to give it a try.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you actually steered the interview in exactly the way I was kind of wanting to go. So as you said, the game is 100% free to play and download. Anybody can play it and download it on their computer, on their phone. I believe it's on consoles now. It's very widely available, and as you said, 100% free to download and try. Now, when we talk about microtransactions or gacha games or anything like that, I don't think a lot of people have a problem with them existing. I think the big thing where they draw the line and have a big problem, especially in a free-to-play game where it's kind of known for being this way, is the game pay to win. And what I don't mean like, okay, like you can pay to win faster or something like that. I mean, like, is there ever a point in the game where you feel punished or you feel as though you have hit a point where you can no longer really progress or progress effectively without spending money? Could I play the game start to finish without spending any money and still feel like I am on equal footing with maybe someone who spent $60 to $100 on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that one of the great things about the game is that any character can be really strong if you build them properly. Now, if you spend money, you will progress faster, or I guess you will have the opportunity to progress faster, I should say, because a lot of it, even if you spend money, is still just up to RNG as far as how your artifacts roll, the stats that you get on those artifacts when you are farming for them. That's not something where you can spend money and get, the artifact that you want. You could spend money and refresh your resin more. You can spend primo gems to refresh your resin more every day so that you have more opportunities to roll on those artifacts. But it's not something where I can say, all right, I'm going to spend $20 and I'm going to get, this crit damage piece that I want. So I think that in that regard, there's nothing in the game that exists right now that you wouldn't be able to do as a free-to-play player. It might just take you a little bit more time to build up your characters to the level where they're ready to do that content if you are, strictly free-to-play. Or, you might have to be a little bit more pick and choose of which characters you build up. You might not be able to build all your characters up at the same time. You might need to, focus on these one or two characters until they're built the way you want, and then move on to some other characters from there.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
And I think another big thing with Genshin, is that I think because there's no player versus player content in it, that thinking of it like pay to win, like a lot of times I feel like pay to win is you have an advantage over someone else in like a player versus player aspect, where like this is strictly player versus environment. So all those bosses you can beat no problem being a free-to-play player. There's never a time where someone is it's gonna be harder because of someone that spent money on, like, someone spending money is not gonna make your experience negative, I should say.
Right. So that personal choice of whether or not to spend the money does not affect you. Yeah, I mean, you worded it perfectly. I don't even think I can really recap it better than you just explained it. So with that being said, I'd like to get your overall opinion on the game's monetization and if it can be improved in any way. And I want to kind of elaborate on what I mean by that before you answer. So sure. I'm going very broad stroke with this question. So I kind of want to get your opinion on with how it's pushed. Is it pushed too heavily? Is it pushed just right? Is it not really pushed at all? As well as, do you feel like there are too many ways to spend money, not enough ways to spend money? Or do you think that the ways you can spend money could just be improved overall? Just kind of like just ins and outs, any thoughts or opinions you have or have had about the microtransactions. And if they've changed anyway, since you've been around since the beginning, if they have changed any since the launch, do you think it's been for better or worse? And I know that's kind of a very big question, so if you want to break it up in parts or however you want to answer it, it's all yours.
For sure. So I think one of the things that has changed since launch is the amount of resin, again, which was what you use to claim rewards for artifacts or for materials from bosses. There's a set amount a day. You get 120 a day, and it slowly recharges over time. Or sorry, you got 120 a day, I should say, at the beginning. And now it's increased to 160. So that's great. And as the game continues to grow, I hope that they continue to increase that, because it's getting to the point where it's starting to feel like this not, there's a lot of stuff to do, and you got to be really choosy about how you spend your resin. If you want to, do the things that you need to do and not feel like you're stuck, or not feel like you need to start spending primo gems or in-game currency to refresh that resin more. As far as the monetization options go, I mean, the options we have right now are, you can buy the Blessing of the Welcome Moon, which I think is great. It's $5. It lasts for a month. You get 300 primo gems, which is like the premium currency used to buy wishes, and then you get 90 primo gems every day that you log in for 30 days. So if you don't log in for a day, you don't get it, but every day that you log in, you get another 90. So if you logged in every day, you get a total of 3,000 primo gems in 30 days for $5, which is great. The other options being, you can spend I think it's like 1, 5, 15, maybe 25, 50, 100. I think those are the breakpoints. Dollars to get more gems. Now, the first time you spend that much, you do get double what you typically would as like a first-time purchase bonus. And then after that, you don't. The first-time purchase bonus feels great. You spend $100, you get a whole bunch of primo gems, you get a bunch of wishing. It feels awesome. After that, it does feel a little bit like you spend $100, you get like 50 wishes. That does feel a little low. Like I will say that since I've started playing Genshin, I have played other gacha games a little bit. And I feel like kind of the amount that you get in Genshin is less. Although I will say that Genshin is one of the few games that, if you don't get the 5-star character that was on that banner the first time, and you pull a different character, the next time you are guaranteed to get the character that's on that 5-star banner. Or that event banner, I should say, the 5-star character on there. So that is nice that there is that kind of built-in safety net, I should say, of like the most you could ever spend and not get, like before you got that character, is 180 wishes. So after 180 wishes, you are guaranteed to have that character, but that's a lot of wishes. And so,
for sure.
In that way, I feel like, the amount that you get per, dollar amount, I guess, does feel a little low to me. Another thing I would say is that they have like packages you can get that are like the beginners package, or you can get like a adventures bundle that comes with like some character level up materials and maybe some Mora, which is like the money in the game, maybe some fragile resins, which you can use to replenish your resin to be able to do more things. Those, to me, don't really seem worth it for how much they cost versus how much you get. So those, I never buy those. I haven't bought those. I know it just doesn't really seem worth it to me. And then the other thing that they have microtransaction wise that they've started adding in is some character skins. And the skins so far have all been, I think, roughly the same cost. Now, some of them, we've gotten for free from events and things. And then if you miss that event, you could later purchase it. And then some of them are exclusively, you need to purchase it from the store. Same thing. The skins seem a little bit expensive. I think it's like $20 for a skin, $20 worth of the crystals for the skin. To me, $20 for a skin seems expensive, but I mean, I know there's a lot of games that charge a lot more than that or similar to that for skins. So I guess
Right.
comparatively, it might not be that much. It's just like for me personally, I don't value it that much. Unless, I mean, I will say if there's like a really cool skin for a character that I play a lot, I probably would. But
Yeah,
so far, there haven't been any come out that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that. Um,
with
as far
the
as the skins go.
with these skins, are those like you just buy the skin, or are they like the gotcha? Do they have a gotcha element as well?
No, so those are you just buy the skin. But the thing, you don't get the character with it. You have to have the character first, but
Hmm.
you just buy the skin. There's no gotcha element. It's just from the actual like in-game store purchase skin. You get it.
And do you feel like that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I feel like that's good in that regard. I feel like if there was like a gotcha element to the skins as well, that would be
Right.
crazy. I mean, there's already 3 banners you can pull on. There's a standard banner that's always there. There's the event banner that changes for whatever 5-star character's up right now, and then there's a weapon banner that you can get 5-star weapons off of. I think adding like a skin banner to that would be too much. I think keeping it just being a straight up purchase, 15 or $20 or however much it is worth of the crystals, you get the skin, done. I think that's a good way. I think that's a good way to do it. I would be upset if they did it as like a banner, as a gotcha style, with how much gotcha style they already have in the game.
Okay. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, so there's not many more questions. Don't worry. Okay, so I personally know a few people, and to be honest, I did recently give the game a try, and I'm quite enjoying it. I was quite surprised by how much I enjoyed the game. But I do know a few people or many people are out there, essentially, that feel this way. That like I said, have seen the art style, heard about the microtransactions and the gotcha element and things like that. And don't really know like, hey, this is a game with actually like a deep story and that has depth to it and doesn't force you to buy anything. So based on that, let me think of how to word this. If you were trying to, and I kind of asked you a similar question earlier, but if you were trying to recommend the game to someone who kind of had those preconceived notions, I know you said like, hey, give it a shot, but
Yeah.
if you were really like trying to get someone to give the game a shot, what would be your selling points?
So I think the thing that surprised me and that I enjoyed the most about the game at the gate was the combat style. And I think that like the fact that yes, it's a game that has, your character has skills, your character has ultimates and bursts, which is very similar to a lot of other games. But when you also factor in that each character has, a different element, and then the elements play together. So like using this character with this character causes, an elemental reaction that makes you do even more damage. Or, this character has an ability to kind of group all the enemies together and then cause like a fire tornado, like things like that. The interactions between the characters in your party, and like the swapping between 4 different characters on the field, and playing together like that. I use this character that has this fire ability, then I switch to this character that has this water ability, and they interact together. So I think that the combat can be surprisingly in depth, and it's very interactive, and it's very fast paced, which I like a lot. So that I think is kind of like the biggest selling point that I would say, and was potentially one of the biggest selling points for me personally, is when I started getting more into that combat and playing around more with those elemental reactions and things like that, where I was started to really enjoy the game and really enjoy building teams and seeing, oh, this character works with this character, and if I put these 2 together, I can do a lot of damage and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. As I said, I recently started playing it, and that was one of the most impressive things about it to me. And I would kind of iterate to this to anyone who might be watching this or the VOD on YouTube. Watching the game's combat does not do it justice. Seeing the game's combat, like from an outside perspective, it even looks cool. But I will say it's 10 times better than it feels 10 times better than it looks. I would definitely agree with you on that being a very, very big selling point. Lots of synergy and fluidity in the combat. Okay, so last question for you. And feel free to be as long or short-winded as you want. This will be like I said, the last question. So the floor is yours after this. So this game has become one of the most popular games in the world. For about a year or two, I know it was very, very talked about. Everybody was either playing it on mobile or on computer or stuff like that, and it's become a very like a pop cultural phenomena in a way, if you will. And so I was wondering if you think this game has had any overarching effects on like the gaming ecosystem as a whole, and if you think other games have started taking cues from this game, or if you've seen maybe existing games change things up, and how you think this game has affected the market.
Yeah, so I mean, Genshin is definitely not the first game to, employ this whole free to play with microtransactions.
Absolutely.
But I think that I can't think of any others immediately that come to mind that are a game that's this kind of big and this in depth and has this much content that is, free to play, at least when it came out, I should say. Because now we have games like, Lost Ark that just came out as free to play, and it's a huge game with so much content in it. But I think, a game that's this big and this well polished, that is, now I say well polished, relatively. There's definitely still things that need to be changed, but that it's fully voice acted. All the characters have so many voice lines in the stories and the quests. I think that having a game that is like that is free to play, and it really draws you in, and right from the beginning, the story is great. The voice acting is fantastic, and it creates that connection between you and the characters, much more so than any other game. Especially when it's fully voice acted, cutscenes and things like that. I feel like you really create a connection to the character, which is, I think, part of the reason that the game has become so big, is because there's so many people who, are obsessed with this character. They absolutely love this character, and that's all they've created an identity around this character. Because they are able to make that connection to the character. And then, I know that they've even said that like the Traveler, the main character, isn't as, doesn't have that many voice lines, because they want you, the player, to put yourself in the role of that Traveler. And so you're really kind of projecting yourself into the game. And so I think a game that's able to do that and create those connections and make you feel that way, and then they introduce the microtransactions, and they introduce these new characters that are coming out, and this is another character that you want, and now, oh my goodness, I saw this preview or this trailer for this character, or I've seen this character in the game and I already know them a little bit, and now I have the opportunity to play them, and it almost makes you more compelled to spend money on that game. So, they're successful with their microtransactions because they're able to create that connection, I think, to the character, and get people to feel that way about their characters. And then the people are like, well, now I need this character, and then they're going to spend money on the game to obtain that character.
Right. Just real quick, I know I said that was the last question. Based on what you said, so would you say a good way to sum it up is kind of the game makes you want to spend your time and money versus forcing you to spend your time and money?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that for parts of it, like if I'm sitting there farming for a new character and I'm grinding it out and I'm running the same thing over and over, in a way, I feel like I'm being forced to do it because I want this character to be good, but I'm being forced to do it because I want this character to be good. Like, I'm not being forced to do it because I need to go. Like, I have other characters who are well built. I could go do this content with these other characters. I'm doing this content now because I want this new character to be well built, because I like this new character. I want them to be stronger because I want to use this character now. So I think it's a little column A, a little column B there, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, MALNOX, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with me. I look forward to diving deeper into the game. Like I said, I'm still pretty early on in it, but it means a lot that you took your time to come on to a much smaller stream and kind of give your thoughts and ideas and opinions on the game. And hopefully, maybe there are some people out there who do see this, could be watching it now or on YouTube, who get a little bit of insight and maybe decide, that the game might be worth giving a shot after hearing someone as passionate about the game as you are kind of speak on it in a little more detail. Before you go, if you'd like to maybe do a little self promotion or anything, man, it's all you. If you'd like to give your Twitch or YouTube or Twitter, anything you'd like to do, the floor is yours. Final thoughts.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out, and anytime I get to talk about Genshin is time well spent. So glad to be here. I'm sure my fiance is sick of me talking about it all the time, so it's nice to talk about it to someone to some people who are interested in it. Although she does play, so I finally got her to play it, so it's okay. But yeah, you guys can find me anywhere and everywhere on the internet under MALNOX, except for Twitter. It's MALNOX TV, because someone has the tag MALNOX there. But I regularly upload to YouTube. I stream on Twitch, and I upload to TikTok, to Instagram, and I'm active on Twitter. So those places are the easiest places to find me. And just again, thank you so much for your time and for putting this together.
Absolutely, no problem. And that's MALNOX with 2 X's for anyone who does want to check him out. I personally have seen a few of his streams, and they are very, very good, very polished, very well put together. Yeah, just excellent content out of MALNOX. But yeah, dude, thank you so much, and I look forward to hopefully there being a next time.
Heck yeah, man.
Alrighty. Have a great day. Thank you so much again.
Of course, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That went very well.